I need you to pause for just a second before this video even really begins, because what I'm about to tell you is not the kind of celebrity story you casually scroll past and forget. This is the kind of story that sits with you. The kind that makes you lower your phone, stare at the wall, and quietly think about the people you love. Because just days ago, while most fans were celebrating talent, dreams, and bright futures, Jon Foster was posting a message that stopped the internet cold. 4 words that didn't sound like a press release, didn't sound like PR, and didn't sound like a TV storyline at all. He wrote, "Pray for their souls." And behind those words was a loss so heavy that even people who don't watch talent shows felt it in their chest. And before you roll your eyes or think, "Here we go again, another dramatic headline," let me say this up front, because I've been reading your comments. I see them. Some of you have been calling out the emotion in these stories. You're saying everything feels exaggerated, scripted, or designed to manipulate feelings. Honestly, I get it. In a world full of reality TV edits, viral sob stories, and now AI-generated everything, it's hard to know what's real anymore. I felt the exact same way when this crossed my screen. My first reaction was skepticism. I almost scrolled past it. But then I went deeper. I watched the unedited clips. I read the original posts before they were reposted and reworded. I traced the timeline, the reactions, the silence, and what I found genuinely broke me. Not because it was shocking in a flashy way, but because it was painfully human. Here's the part that really messes with your head. This didn't happen after Jon Foster lost on television. It didn't happen years after fame faded. It happened while his name was still being searched, while people were still arguing about his performances, while his dream was actively unfolding on American Idol. Imagine standing on the biggest stage of your life, smiling under bright lights, knowing millions are watching, while privately your world is cracking in ways no camera can capture. When Jon first appeared on American Idol, the reaction was immediate and intense. Some people saw raw talent. Others said he was too emotional, too soft, or not ready. The internet did what it always does. TikTok clips dissected his facial expressions. Twitter, or X if we're being honest, turned every note into a debate. Reddit threads argued whether he was authentic or just another contestant shaped by producers. But beneath all of that noise, there was a kid carrying a weight no one online could see. Jon didn't come from some polished, industry-built background. His journey into music wasn't lined with luxury studios or famous mentors. It started the way most real dreams do, quietly. Singing in small spaces, writing when no one was listening, performing because it felt like survival, not strategy. People close to him have said music wasn't just his passion, it was how he processed pain. And that detail matters more now than ever. Because before the applause, before the judges' reactions, before the social media breakdowns, Jon was already familiar with loss. Not the kind you use for inspiration quotes, but the kind that reshapes you. Friends he grew up with drifting away. Family struggles that never fully make it into public bios. Moments where quitting would have made more sense than continuing. Music became his way of speaking when words failed him. Then American Idol happened, and suddenly his voice wasn't just his anymore. It belonged to the audience, to the critics, to the fans who felt like they knew him after 90 seconds on screen. And that's where the story takes its first dark turn. Layer 1 of this story is the public version. The post everyone saw, Jon sharing a message asking fans to pray for their souls. No names, no details, just grief. The vagueness alone sent social media into chaos. TikTok creators stitched the post with theories. Some said it was a family tragedy. Others speculated it was connected to violence. A few accused him of using loss for attention, which honestly says more about the internet than about him. Layer 2 is the timing. This message didn't come after a performance recap or an elimination episode. It came quietly, late at night, when engagement is usually low. That's not how people chase attention. That's how people reach out when they don't know what else to do. Fans who had been rooting for him noticed immediately. One comment that kept getting liked over and over said, "You can tell this isn't promo. This is pain." Layer 3 is what didn't happen next. There was no follow-up explanation. No long caption. No interview. No dramatic clarification. Just silence. And silence, in moments like this, is loud. It tells you something is too raw to package into words. This is where the social media war really exploded. On X, one user wrote, "Why does every Idol contestant suddenly have a tragic story?" And right under it, another replied, "Because they're humans, not characters." Reddit threads turned into emotional battlegrounds. One fan said, "I lost 2 people last year. If this is fake, shame on him. But if it's real, shame on us for doubting." TikTok went even harder. Some creators broke down crying on camera, saying they felt guilty for ever criticizing him. Others doubled down, accusing the show of emotional manipulation. And I want to ask you something right here. If you were grieving, would you owe the internet an explanation? Or would you just ask for prayers and disappear? Now layer 4, and this is where the story starts to feel heavier. People close to the situation began quietly confirming that this was real. That the loss was sudden. That it involved more than one person. That John was struggling in ways cameras couldn't capture. No official statements. Just whispers. Just empathy. Just people saying, "Please be kind." This is also the moment where something unexpected happened. Instead of hurting his image, this moment changed how many people saw him. Fans who had been on the fence started rewatching his performances differently. Lyrics hit harder. Facial expressions made more sense. One TikTok comment said, "Now I get why his voice sounds like it's breaking." It is. About halfway through all of this, let me say something directly to you watching. If you've ever felt emotionally invested in a contestant, a celebrity, or even a stranger online, this is why. Not because they're famous, but because sometimes their pain mirrors ours. And if you're the kind of person who wants deeper stories like this, the kind that don't end neatly, make sure you're subscribed and notifications are on. Not because of algorithms, but because these are the moments mainstream headlines skip, and I don't want you missing them. Now we reach layer 5. The part that most people don't know. The part that didn't trend. The part that turns this from a sad post into something that lingers. According to multiple sources close to John, this loss didn't just happen around him. It hit his inner circle. People he spoke to regularly. People who shaped who he is. This wasn't distant grief. This was personal. And that explains something crucial. After the post, John stepped back. Fewer online interactions. Less engagement. No defensive replies. No clarifications. That's not weakness. That's survival. And it raises a question no one wants to ask out loud. What does it cost someone to chase a dream publicly while grieving privately? Fans started sharing their own stories in his comments. "I lost my brother last year. Your post made me cry. I don't even watch Idol, but I'm praying for you. Take all the time you need." And then there were the quieter comments, the ones that didn't get thousands of likes but felt the most real. "I hope you're not alone right now." And this is where the final shock comes in. Not a twist, not a scandal, but a realization. John Foster never asked for sympathy. He asked for prayers for others. Not himself. In his darkest moment, he shifted focus away from his own pain. And that tells you everything about his character. So let me ask you this, honestly. If you were standing in his place, would you still be able to sing? Would you still show up? Would you still chase a dream while carrying that kind of loss? Or would you disappear completely? This story isn't about American Idol. It's not about fame. It's about what happens when real life collides with public dreams. And whether you're a fan of the show or not, whether you believe in reality TV or not, moments like this cut through the noise. As of now, John hasn't shared more details. And maybe he never will. Maybe this story doesn't need closure. Maybe it just needs compassion. So before you comment, before you judge, before you assume, remember there's a human being behind the headline. I want to know what you think. Do you believe public figures deserve privacy when they're grieving, even if they chose a public path? Or do fans have a right to know? Drop your thoughts below, but keep it respectful. And if this story made you pause, even for a second, then it mattered. Because sometimes the loudest stories aren't the ones shouted from the stage. They're the ones whispered in pain, asking for prayers, hoping someone out there is still listening.